out to our community on email, because I thought you might enjoy it too. And then Laura Lee saw it and said, why don't you share it at the Spring Fling as part of a reading that you do? And my first thought was, oh no. And I thought, why not? It was written by Allison Luderman, who lives in the Bay Area with her husband and 5 feral cats. She teaches poetry and writing to children and adults. And it won the Oil of Olay contest, 5 lines contest. And then also was presented on transit buses in Portland because it was part of their program of Poetry in Motion. It's called I Confess. I stalked her in the grocery store, her crown of snowy braids held in place by a great silver clip, her erect bearing radiating tenderness, watching the way she placed yogurt and avocados in her basket, beaming peace like the North Star. I wanted to ask, what aisle did you find your serenity in? Do you know how to be married for 50 years or how to live alone? Excuse me for interrupting, but you seem to possess some knowledge that makes the earth turn and burn on its axis. But we don't request such things from strangers nowadays. So I said, I love your hair. I woke up with these words in my head about a week ago and wrote them down. To darn. I love to darn. It taught me my first lesson in patience. To take the time by hand to mend, to sew, to interweave, to extend life. I have a certain natural inclination to do it between people, but it's easier to do with socks.
Yeah, that's so true.
January verb. I took my walk today in the early AM in my 3 layers of clothes since it's before 8 and it's burr weather outside. I found myself trying to call up my senses as I reach for the words as if for the first time. Sight and sound and smell and taste and touch to help take me away from thinking. This has been my major task in this part of my life, to breathe and leave thought out. I'm such a major thinker, and usually it gets me in trouble. So I come back to my body and use the senses to get me there. I lean onto my walking stick when I head into harder terrain. I listen to the early morning traffic. I find things to see on the ground. I see the artwork of thin webs in a shrub beside Bodega Highway. What a miracle. Yeah. 2 days ago, I listened to Vivaldi guitar concertos while I prepped food properly like a chef to make a rainbow stir fry. I think I'm becoming an introvert after being an extrovert for most of my life. I'm learning to say no. I'm learning how to move from emotions that want to grab me and bring me down into just being and even choosing joy. Last year, after the alert that the word cancer brought, the first question that the radical remission teachings proposed was, do you want to live? And the question after that was, why? When I completely remember I'm part of everything, I get to answer, why not?
Yeah.
I call this my 77th year. Plus I live at 777. a certain magic in that. I was part of an artist collective in San Francisco in the 70s. It was a residential hotel. We worked to save the building as well as to first create and get support for live workspace. I've often said that being here reminds me of being there. Except here we get to have our own apartments and bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
At some point it was decided that we should create a catalog with photos and some parts of our work. Well, I was sufficiently intimidated by just, talking about myself as an artist. But I did go and take a photo of myself at a photo shop. And then what I'm going to share here is what I decided to put in the catalog. A theater friend put it in a book she wrote to lead off the chapter on prayer. Remember that to have the eyes of an artist, that can be enough. The ear of a poet. Remember that to have the eyes of an artist, that can be enough. The soul of a human just pointed in the direction of the divine. That can be more than enough. I tell you this to remind myself. Every gesture is an act of creation. Even empty spaces and silence can be the wings and voices of angels.